We can see at the bottom of your screen another very, very significant breaking story. Huge bit of transfer news for you, especially if you're a Chelsea fan, because Chelsea have agreed.
Yeah, good afternoon, Joe. I'm very, very surprised, when I heard the news breaking yesterday, and couldn't really get my head around it, to be honest, because I'm just not sure what the Chelsea hierarchy expected to do this season with the group of players that he had. Obviously, the injuries that he had, he missed the likes of Ben Chilwell and Reece James for, the majority of the season, playing a lot of young players at the same time, little experience to guide and help them on the pitch. And, for him to...
Our chief reporter, Kaveh Solokal, joins us now. OK, really? Could Abramovich really be about to sell Chelsea?
Look, I think for the first time since Roman Abramovich bought Chelsea 19 years ago, he's willing to listen to offers for the club. But on Saturday, we saw him try to give up control of the club and hand it over to the Chelsea Foundation trustees. That has proved to be much more difficult than he thought it was going to be. And I think selling the club in the current climate is going to be much more difficult than he maybe imagines it's going to be. Now, it's very significant that Swiss billionaire Hans-Jörg Wyss has come out and said that Roman Abramovich is basically desperate to sell the club. We've also heard from Chris Bryant, MP, who used parliamentary privilege to say that Roman Abramovich is terrified that he is going to be sanctioned by the UK government. According to Chris Bryant, Mr. Abramovich wants to sell his house in London. He wants to sell another flat. Apparently that was going to happen today. And if Roman Abramovich is trying to dispose of all his assets in the UK, it's obvious that he would be trying to dispose of Chelsea as well. Now, the only issue is who could buy Chelsea at the moment? Who could put a deal together? Because any prospective buyer is going to be thinking, this is a person, Abramovich, who could be sanctioned by the UK government at any moment. His assets could be frozen. Is this somebody who I want to do business with at the moment? Of course, Abramovich himself has always said that he believes he has not done anything that warrants him being sanctioned by the UK government. But for the first time in 19 years, it looks like Roman Abramovich is willing to listen to offers for Chelsea. But I think selling Chelsea at the moment is going to be just as complicated as trying to hand over control of the club to the Chelsea Foundation trustees.
Abramovich, Roman Abramovich. Right, he was forced to sell Chelsea. The Americans came in, BOEHLY and Clear Lake Capital paid what, 3.5 billion, 2.5 billion?
2.5 billion.
2.5 billion, and we were told that money would go to the people who were affected by the war between Russia and Ukraine. Now, Abramovich was clear that meant Russians as well as Ukrainians. So we've all been sitting there going, right, that's gone to help people. You told me earlier that's not the case, so tell everybody else.
The money that was raised from Roman Abramovich being forced to sell Chelsea, about £2.5 billion. That money was supposed to go to the victims of the war in Ukraine. Almost 3 years after the sale, that money is still sitting frozen in a UK bank account.
How can that be?
Well, we've been speaking to the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office today, and that is the question I put to them. I said, why is this money, £2.5 billion that was supposed to go to Ukraine, still sitting in a UK bank account? They said this government is working hard to ensure the proceeds reach humanitarian causes in Ukraine as quickly as possible. The proceeds are currently frozen in a bank account while a new independent foundation is established to manage and distribute the money. UK officials continue to hold discussions with Mr. Abramovich's representatives, experts and international partners, and we will double down on our efforts to reach a resolution.
What's the hold-up?
I will tell you what the hold-up is. The hold-up is that the UK government want this money to go to victims of the war in Ukraine. Whereas Roman Abramovich, I think he went on the record 3 years ago when he was forced to sell Chelsea. He said he wanted the money to go to all the victims
Yeah.
of the war. And I think that would include possibly victims of the war in Russia as well. Now, I think for the UK government, that is a red line. The UK government want the money only to go to Ukraine. So I think that is why we have hit this impasse. And that is why no progress has been made for 3 years. But the UK government telling us today that they will double down on their efforts to reach a resolution, because it is ludicrous, almost incredible and unthinkable that 3 years after Roman Abramovich was forced to sell Chelsea because he was sanctioned by the UK government of the time, led by the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, 3 years later, that money has not gone to Ukraine. That money is still sitting frozen in a bank account.
It's ridiculous.